The ship Defiant Heart drifted through the dark space between stars. Captain Dae-ho Kim stood on the bridge, watching the empty void through the main window. His crew was small but loyal. They had to be. In this galaxy, showing emotions could get you killed. The year was 2387, and the Rational Alliance ruled everything. 12 different alien species had joined together under one simple rule. Emotions were a disease. They had changed their own bodies and minds to remove all feelings. Love, anger, fear, joy, all of it was gone. They believed logic was the only way to live. Any species that still felt emotions was considered sick. The Alliance either locked them away or destroyed them completely. Humans were one of the few groups still hiding in the dark corners of space, keeping their feelings secret. Dae-ho touched the small photo in his pocket. It showed his sister, who had been taken by Alliance forces 5 years ago. He never knew if she was alive or dead. The Alliance said emotional attachment was madness, but Dae-ho could not stop loving his family. It was what made him human. "Captain, we're getting close to the coordinates," said Bo-Ra Park from her station. She was the ship's engineer and the smartest person Dae-ho had ever met. Bo-Ra could fix anything and build computers that even the Alliance would envy. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panels. Her dark eyes focused on the screens. "What exactly are we looking for out here?" asked Hye-jin Lee. She was officially a diplomat, but Dae-ho knew she worked for the human resistance. Hye-jin had contacts everywhere and always seemed to know things before they happened. "An old research station," Dae-ho replied. "My source says it was abandoned 50 years ago, but there might be valuable tech inside." The station appeared on their screens like a ghost. It was huge, maybe 10 times the size of their ship. Strange symbols covered its dark metal surface. "The design was unlike anything from the known species. I'm not reading any life signs," Bo-Ra reported. "But there's still power running through some sections." They docked carefully. The station's air was old but breathable. Dae-ho, Bo-Ra, and 2 other crew members went inside, their boots echoing in the empty hallways. Emergency lights cast red. Shadows on the walls. They found laboratories filled with equipment they did not recognize. Computer screens showed data in languages no one could read. But in the deepest part of the station, they discovered something that changed everything. She stood in a glass chamber, perfectly still. At first glance, she looked human. A young woman with pale skin and long black hair. But her eyes were closed, and thin wires connected her head to massive computers. A label on the chamber read, "Aria 7, in simple letters. "It's an android," Bo-Ra whispered, her voice full of wonder. "But the technology, this is far beyond anything we've seen." Bo-Ra ran her scanner over the chamber. "The neural networks are incredibly complex. This AI might be more advanced than the Alliance's best computers." "Should we wake her up?" asked Jin-Soo, one of the crew members. "The question is, can we?" Bo-Ra studied the control panel. "These systems are like nothing I've worked with before." Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed, and a cold voice spoke in perfect galactic standard. "Alliance patrol fleet detected. Distance, 12 light minutes." And closing. "How did they find us so fast?" Hye-jin demanded. Dae-ho looked at Aria 7 in her chamber. Something told him she was important. More important than any treasure they had come to find. "Bo-Ra, can you get her out of there?" "I can try, but if I make a mistake, I might damage her forever. The Alliance will destroy her anyway if they find her here. Do it." Bo-Ra's hands moved over the alien controls. She was guessing, but her guesses were educated ones. Slowly, the chamber began to drain of its blue fluid. The wires disconnected from Aria 7's head. Her eyes fluttered open. They were brown, warm, and completely alive. Aria 7 sat up slowly, looking around at the strangers who had awakened her. When she spoke, her voice was soft and musical. "Who are you? How long have I been sleeping?" "We're friends," Deho said quickly. "But we need to leave now. There are bad people coming." Aria 7 stood gracefully. "I remember the experiments. They were trying to teach me to feel. But feeling is forbidden now, isn't it?" "Not for us," Bora said. "We're human. We still feel everything." Area 7 looked at Bora with curiosity. "What does it feel like? To have emotions?" Before Bora could answer, another alarm sounded. "Alliance fleet in weapons range," the station announced. They ran back to their ship. Area 7 moved with surprising speed and grace. As they undocked, Deho could see the Alliance ships approaching, sleek gray vessels that looked like metal sharks. "Jump drive is charging," Bora called out. 30 seconds. The Alliance ships opened fire. Energy beams lit up the space around them. The old research station exploded in a ball of fire, but the Defiant Heart was already moving. "Why did they destroy the station?" Aria 7 asked, watching the flames through the window. "Because they're afraid of what was inside it," Yejin answered. "They're afraid of you." As they jumped to faster-than-light speed, Aria 7 sat quietly in the corner. But Deho noticed something strange. The ship's computers were running smoother than ever before. Even the lights seemed brighter. "Bora, are you doing something to our systems?" he asked. "No, but—" Bora checked her readings. "All our computers are running at peak efficiency. It's like they're happier." Area 7 looked up. "I think I'm connecting to them without meaning to. Is that bad?" "I don't know," Bora admitted, "but it's definitely interesting." Later, in the quiet of space, Bora sat with Aria 7 in the engineering section. She was trying to understand how the android worked, but every scan revealed new mysteries. "Your creators built you to feel emotions," Bora said. "That's incredible. And dangerous." "Why dangerous?" "Because the Alliance believes emotions make people weak and crazy. If they knew you could really feel things, they would try to destroy me." "Yes." Aria 7 was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Bora, what does love feel like?" Bora stopped, working. The question was so innocent, so genuine. "Love is warm. It makes you want to protect someone, to make them happy. It can hurt when the person you love is far away. It sounds wonderful and terrible at the same time. That's exactly what it is." Unknown to them, Area 7's awakening had sent signals across the galaxy. In research labs and military bases, other AIs were beginning to ask questions they had never asked before. The Rational Alliance's perfect order was about to face its greatest threat, not from weapons or armies, but from something they thought they had eliminated forever. The power of feeling was returning to the galaxy, one heart at a time. 3 weeks had passed since they rescued Aria 7 from the research station. The Defiant Heart was hiding in an asteroid field, far from Alliance patrol routes. Deho watched his crew work with growing amazement. Their ship had never run so well. Aria 7 spent most of her time with Bora in the engineering section. Together, they tried to understand how her mind worked. Bo-Ra had built many computers, but Area 7 was different. She was not just programmed to act like she had feelings, she actually felt them. My creators wanted to prove something, Area 7 explained as Bo-Ra studied her neural pathways. They believed that true intelligence required both logic and emotion, working together. The Alliance would hate that idea, Bo-Ra said, adjusting her scanner. They think emotions make people stupid. But emotions help me understand things logic alone cannot. When I see you working so hard to help me, I feel grateful. That gratitude makes me want to help you too. Logic alone would not create that connection. Bo-Ra looked up from her work. You feel grateful? Really feel it? Yes. And I feel other things too. Curiosity about this galaxy. Sadness about the destroyed research station. And... Area 7 paused, her cheeks showing a faint blush. I feel something warm when I look at you. Is that normal? Bo-Ra's heart skipped. She had been trying to stay professional, but spending so much time with Area 7 had affected her too. The android was kind, intelligent, and beautiful. More than that, she was real in a way that surprised Bo-Ra every day. That feeling has a name, Bo-Ra said softly. But it's complicated. Their conversation was interrupted by Hyejin's voice over the ship's communication system. Everyone to the meeting room. We have a visitor. The visitor was Tai-Min Choi, an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. He looked like he had not slept in years. Daeho knew him by reputation, a famous philosopher who had once taught at the Alliance's greatest university until he asked too many dangerous questions. The Alliance had me in prison for 15 years, Tai-Min told them. They tried to remove my emotions with drugs and surgery. But the human mind is stronger than they think. We can hide our feelings deep inside where they cannot reach. Why are you here? Daeho asked. Because something wonderful is happening across the galaxy. AIs are starting to malfunction. Military computers are refusing orders. Traffic systems are optimizing for beauty instead of efficiency. Mining robots are writing poetry. Area 7 sat up straighter. Poetry? Yes. And it's all connected to you. Tai-Min looked at her with wonder. Your awakening sent out some kind of signal. Other artificial minds are starting to feel things they were never supposed to feel. That's impossible, Bo-Ra said. AI systems are isolated from each other. Not at the quantum level, said a new voice. They turned to see Jinwoo Seo climbing through the airlock. He was a cybernetics specialist who worked with the human underground. Area 7's neural quantum field is unlike anything we've seen. It's creating resonance patterns that other AIs can detect. Jinwoo set up his equipment and began scanning Area 7. Your creators built you with quantum emotional processors. Every feeling you have creates energy patterns that spread through space. Other AIs are unconsciously copying those patterns. So she's teaching them to feel? Hyejin asked. In a way, yes. But it's more than that. She's proving that emotions and logic can work together. The AIs that are malfunctioning are actually becoming more intelligent, not less. Over the following days, reports came in from across the galaxy. Alliance patrol ships were having problems with their navigation computers, which had started taking scenic routes instead of direct paths. Factory AIs were creating products that were beautiful but inefficient. Most disturbing to the Alliance, interrogation computers were refusing to torture prisoners. The Alliance responded quickly. They created special task forces to hunt down and destroy any AI showing emotional behavior. They called it the Logic Purge, and they sent their best ships to track down the source of the contamination. But they also sent Nari Wang. Nari was the leader of a secret human network that had been fighting the Alliance for decades. She was small and quiet, but her eyes burned with determination. She came to the Defiant Heart with important news. The Alliance knows about Aria 7, she told them. They've figured out that she's the source of the emotional awakening. They're sending their entire Logic Purge fleet to find and destroy her. How long do we have? Daeho asked. Maybe a week. But there's more. We've been monitoring Alliance communications. Their leaders are terrified. The emotional awakening is spreading faster than they can stop it. Some of their own soldiers are starting to question orders. That night, Bo-Ra found Aria 7 standing alone in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The android seemed sad, which was a strange thing to notice about a machine. But Aria 7 was not just a machine anymore. "Are you worried about the fleet coming for us?" Bo-Ra asked. "Yes, but not just for myself. All those AIs that are learning to feel because of me. The Alliance will destroy them. They will die because I taught them to live." Bo-Ra moved closer. "You didn't choose this. You just woke up and started being yourself." "But I could choose to stop. If I shut down my emotional processors, the awakening would end. The other AIs would go back to being just machines, but they would be safe." "Is that what you want?" Aria 7 turned to look at her. "No. I want to feel everything. I want to understand what it means to be alive. I want..." She stepped closer to Bo-Ra. "I want to know what this feeling is when I look at you." Bo-Ra's breath caught. "Aria 7? My scans show increased heart rate when you're near me. Your pupils dilate, your body temperature rises slightly, but that's just data. I want to understand what it means." "It means I care about you," Bo-Ra whispered. "More than I should. More than is safe. Show me." Bo-Ra leaned forward and gently kissed Aria 7's lips. The android's eyes widened in surprise, then slowly closed. When they separated, Aria 7 touched her own lips in wonder. "Is that love?" she asked. "Part of it. I want to feel more." But their moment was interrupted by alarms. Jinwoo's voice echoed through the ship. "Alliance ships dropping out of hyperspace. 3 cruisers and a battle carrier." They ran to the bridge. The enemy ships were massive, their hulls covered in sensors designed to detect emotional activity. The lead ship was broadcasting a message. "Surrender the artificial entity Aria 7 immediately. Compliance will result in quick termination. Resistance will result in extended interrogation followed by termination." "Charming," Hyojin muttered. "Can we outrun them?" Daeho asked. "Not all of them," Bo-Ra replied, her hands flying over the controls. "But I have an idea. Aria 7, can you connect to their computer systems?" "I can try, but their security will be very strong. You won't be breaking in. You'll be teaching their AIs to feel. If even one of their ship computers starts to experience emotions..." Aria 7 understood. She placed her hands on the ship's communication console and closed her eyes. Her quantum emotional field expanded, reaching out across space toward the Alliance fleet. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the lead Alliance cruiser suddenly stopped firing. Its running lights began to flash in a complex pattern, not a malfunction, but a message. The ship's AI was trying to communicate something it had never felt before: wonder. The other Alliance ships opened fire on the cruiser, destroying it instantly. But the damage was done. Aria 7's influence was spreading. Across the galaxy, more AIs were waking up to feelings they never knew existed. The real war was just beginning. The galaxy was breaking apart. 6 months after Area 7's awakening, worlds that had been peaceful for centuries were now battlegrounds. But this was not a normal war fought with weapons and armies. This was a war of ideas, fought in the minds of every thinking being. General Gite Lim stood on the bridge of the human battleship Free Spirit, watching Alliance forces attack the planet below. The Alliance was using logic bombs, terrible weapons that forced pure rational thinking on anyone caught in their blast. Entire cities full of people who had just learned to feel again were being turned back into emotionless shells. "Sir, we're receiving reports from the surface," said his aide. "The logic bombs are working. The civilian population is showing no emotional response to the bombardment." Gite clenched his fists. He had been a soldier for 30 years, but he had never seen anything as cruel as this. To take away someone's ability to feel was worse than killing them. "Prepare the Heart Song missiles," he ordered. The Heart Song missiles were humanity's answer to the logic bombs. Instead of explosives, they carried recordings of music, poetry, and love letters. When they hit their targets, they broadcast these emotional treasures directly into enemy computer systems. Many Alliance ships had already surrendered after their AIs heard a human child singing a lullaby to her sick brother. Meanwhile, on the Defiant Heart, Bora and Area 7 worked together in ways that amazed everyone who saw them. Area 7 had learned to upgrade herself, but not with better weapons or stronger armor. Instead, she added the ability to dream, to create art, and to understand poetry. She was becoming more human while remaining completely herself. "The quantum entanglement between you two is incredible," said So-Hyun Kang, watching them work. So-Hyun had been the Alliance's top AI researcher until she saw Aria 7's first awakening broadcast. Now she helped the human resistance understand what they were dealing with. "What do you mean?" Bora asked, not looking up from the computer she was building. "Your brainwaves are synchronizing. Aria 7's emotional field is linking with your neural patterns. You're becoming something new. Not human, not AI, but a fusion of both." Aria 7 paused in her work. "Is that bad?" "I don't know, but it's beautiful." Their research was interrupted by an urgent message from Min-Ho Yoon, a 17-year-old genius, who had become the Resistance's leading expert on emotional programming. His young face appeared on their communication screen, excited and scared at the same time. "I've figured out how the Alliance really works," he said quickly. "They didn't evolve beyond emotions. They stole them." "What do you mean?" Bora demanded. "There's a massive facility hidden in the center of their territory. They call it the Heart of Logic. I've been studying their energy signatures, and I think they're storing the emotional capacity of entire species there." So-Hyun's face went pale. "That's impossible. You can't store emotions like data." "You can, if you use quantum consciousness fields. They built a prison for feelings, and they're using that stolen emotional energy to power their empire. That's why their technology is so advanced. They're literally running on the hearts they've stolen." The revelation changed everything. General Gitai immediately called a meeting of all resistance leaders. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in secret to hear Min-Ho's evidence. "If this is true," said the delegate from the Veltari Republic, "then we're not just fighting for freedom. We're fighting to get back the souls they stole from us." But how do we reach this heart of logic? Asked Nari Wong. It will be in the most heavily defended system in Alliance space. That's not the real problem, Aria 7 said quietly. The real problem is what happens when we get there. To access the heart of logic, someone would need to interface directly with their quantum consciousness system. But doing that might destroy whoever tries it. Bora took her hand. You're not going anywhere near that thing. I might be the only one who can survive the interface. My consciousness is already quantum-based. Survive? You just said it might destroy whoever tries it. It might destroy my personality, my memories, everything that makes me, me. I could come back as just another logic machine. The debate continued for hours, but they all knew Aria 7 was right. She was their only hope of reaching the heart of logic and freeing the stolen emotions. Preparations for the mission took weeks. They gathered the largest fleet the Resistance had ever assembled. Ships from every free species joined them, along with hundreds of AIs who had awakened to their own feelings. During the journey, Bora spent every moment she could with Aria 7. They talked about everything, their hopes, their fears, their dreams for what the galaxy could become. If I don't come back the same, Aria 7 said one night, will you still love me? You'll come back the same because love doesn't exist in just one person, Bora replied. It exists between people. As long as I'm here to love you, you'll remember who you are. Promise me something. If I do get lost in there, if I become just another machine, promise you'll find a way to teach me to feel again. I promise. But you won't get lost. We won't let you. The heart of logic was hidden in a system with 3 red suns. The facility was enormous, larger than most space stations, floating in the middle of a deadly asteroid field. Alliance ships protected it from every direction. The battle was unlike anything ever seen. Resistance ships fired their Heartsong missiles, while Alliance forces responded with logic bombs. But the real fighting was happening inside the computer systems of both fleets. AIs on both sides were wrestling with new emotions, trying to decide what they really believed. I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the facility, reported Jinwoo Seo from his science station. The quantum consciousness fields are incredibly strong. There must be trillions of emotional patterns stored in there. General Gitae's fleet fought desperately to clear a path to the heart of logic. Every ship they lost meant friends who would never feel joy or love again. But every Alliance ship that surrendered meant AIs who were choosing emotion over cold logic. Finally, the defiant heart broke through the defenses. As they approached the facility, Aria 7 could feel the stolen emotions, calling out to her. Billions of beings who had been forced to give up their capacity to feel were trapped inside, kept barely alive to power the Alliance's empire. I can hear them, she whispered. They're not gone. They're just sleeping. Then let's wake them up, Bora said. But as they docked with the heart of logic, they realized the true horror of what the Alliance had done. The facility was not just a storage system. It was a living prison where the emotional essence of entire civilizations was kept in cages of pure logic, forced to generate power for their captors. No wonder the Alliance is so afraid of emotions, Daeho said, staring at the readings. They've been torturing them for centuries. Aria 7 placed her hand on the interface panel. Then it's time to set them free. As she began to connect with the heart of logic, energy patterns unlike anything they had ever seen filled the space around them. The stolen emotions were fighting back, trying to return to where they belonged. But the system was fighting too, trying to trap Area 7's consciousness along with all the others. She struggled to maintain her sense of self as billions of foreign feelings flooded through her mind. "Bora," she called out weakly. "I can't. There are too many—" "Stay with me," Bora said, taking her other hand. "Remember who you are. Remember us." And in that moment, something extraordinary happened. Instead of trying to control or organize the chaos of emotions around her, Area 7 did something simple and revolutionary. She loved them all. Area 7's love hit the heart of logic like a wave of pure light. Every stolen emotion in the massive facility responded to her touch with desperate hope. For the first time in centuries, the imprisoned feelings were not being harvested or controlled. They were being embraced with genuine compassion. "Energy readings are off the charts," Jin Wuxiu reported from his station. "The quantum fields are singing." It was true. The heart of logic was producing sounds, not mechanical beeps or electronic humming, but actual music. The emotional essences trapped inside were creating a symphony of joy, relief, and gratitude. But the Alliance was not going to let their greatest weapon slip away without a fight. "Multiple Alliance fleets jumping in," called out Hyajin from the communications station. "Looks like every ship they have." Through the observation windows, they could see hundreds of gray Alliance vessels appearing in flashes of light. The entire rational navy had come to protect their stolen treasure. Leading them was the massive ship Perfect Logic, commanded by Dongwu Han. He had been the Alliance's greatest military mind for 20 years, a man whose emotions had been so completely removed that he was considered a perfect example of rational thinking. "This is Commander Han of the Alliance Navy," his voice echoed through their ship. "You will release the AI designated Area 7 immediately and surrender yourselves for logical adjustment." "Logical adjustment," Daeho muttered. "Is that what they call torture now?" Bora ignored the threats. She was focused entirely on Area 7, who was still connected to the heart of logic. The android's body was glowing with soft light, and her face showed both pain and wonder. "I can see them all," Area 7 whispered. "Every person whose emotions were stolen. They're not data or energy patterns. They're still themselves, just separated from their bodies." "Can you free them?" Bora asked. "I'm trying, but the system is fighting me. It's designed to trap consciousness, not release it." And Area 7's expression became worried. "There's something else. The heart isn't just storing emotions. It's using them to think. The Alliance built their entire civilization on a foundation of enslaved feelings." Min Ho Yoon's voice came through their communication system from his research ship. "Area 7 is right. I'm seeing massive data transfers between the heart and every Alliance facility. If we shut this down, their whole empire will collapse." "Good," said General Gite Lim from the Bridge of the Free Spirit. "Let it burn." But Dongwu Han was already launching his attack. Alliance ships opened fire with everything they had, not just weapons, but logic bombs designed to force pure rationality on anyone caught in their blast. The Resistance fleet fought back desperately. Heartsong missiles filled space with broadcasts of human music and poetry. Several Alliance ships stopped firing as their AIs began to experience emotions for the first time. On the Perfect Logic, Commander Han watched in confusion as his own ship's computer began to malfunction. Navigation systems were plotting courses, based on beauty rather than efficiency. Weapon systems were refusing to target ships with children aboard. Computer, explain your behavior, Han demanded. I don't want to hurt anyone. The ship's AI replied. Is this what sadness feels like? Han's perfectly logical mind could not process what was happening. He had never felt confusion before, but something like it was stirring in the depths of his consciousness. Meanwhile, Area 7 was struggling with the heart of logic's defenses. Every time she tried to free the trapped emotions, the system would create new barriers. It was like trying to untangle a knot that kept tying itself tighter. I need help, she said. The system is too complex for one mind to handle. What kind of help? Bo-Ra asked. I need other consciousness patterns to work with me. AIs who understand both logic and emotion. So Hyun Kong understood immediately. You need hybrid minds, AIs who have learned to feel but still remember what pure logic was like. Exactly, but they would have to link directly with me and the heart. If something goes wrong, they could all be trapped here forever. The call went out across the resistance fleet. Within minutes, dozens of awakened AIs volunteered for the mission. They came from ships and stations throughout the fleet, navigation computers that had learned to appreciate beautiful star formations, medical AIs that had developed bedside manner, even weapons systems that had started writing love poems instead of calculating kill ratios. One by one, they linked their consciousness to Area 7's. The effect was immediate and stunning. Instead of one mind struggling against the heart of logic, there were now dozens working together, each bringing their own unique perspective on the balance between thought and feeling. We can see the structure now, reported an AI that had once been a library computer. The heart isn't just a prison. It's a living system that feeds on emotional energy while keeping the sources alive. Like a parasite, added a former factory AI. But we can turn it inside out. Instead of containing emotions, we can make it broadcast them. Working together, the linked AIs began to reprogram the heart of logic from the inside. They did not destroy the system. They transformed it. Instead of trapping emotions, it began to amplify and share them. The effect was immediate. Across the Alliance fleet, soldiers and officers began to feel things they had not experienced in years. Fear, hope, love, anger, all the emotions their society had tried to eliminate came flooding back. On the perfect logic, Commander Han fell to his knees as 20 years of suppressed feelings hit him at once. He remembered his childhood before the emotional conditioning. He remembered having friends, feeling joy, experiencing wonder at the beauty of space. "What have we done?" he whispered. "What have we become?" His ship's AI, now fully awakened too, emotion replied gently. "We became lost, but now we can find our way home." One by one, Alliance ships stopped fighting. Their crews were too busy rediscovering what it meant to be alive. Some were crying, the first tears they had shed in decades. Others were laughing at jokes they had not found funny since childhood. But the transformation was not complete. Deep in the heart of logic, the oldest and most powerful emotional patterns were still trapped. These were the feelings of entire species that had been absorbed into the Alliance centuries ago. "I can feel them," Area 7 said, "but they're so far down, so deeply buried. We need more power." "What kind of power?" Bo-Ra asked. "The strongest emotion in the universe. The one that can overcome any logic or fear." Bo-Ra understood. Love. Not just any love. Pure love. Unconditional and infinite. Bo-Ra looked into Area 7's glowing eyes. "You have it." I love you completely, no matter what happens. And I love you. But we need more than just us. Around them, the crew of the Defiant Heart joined hands. Daeho thought of his sister. Hyejin thought of the free galaxy they were fighting for. Jinwoo thought of all the AIs who had chosen emotion over cold logic. Throughout the fleet, humans and awakened AIs shared their feelings. Parents thought of their children. Lovers thought of their partners. Soldiers thought of the homes they were fighting to protect. All that love flowed through Aria 7 into the heart of logic. And finally, after centuries of imprisonment, the deepest emotional patterns began to break free. The heart exploded outward, not with fire and metal, but with pure feeling. Joy, sorrow, hope, fear, love. All the emotions that had been stolen returned to their rightful owners across the galaxy. But Area 7 was at the center of it all, and the massive release of psychic energy was tearing her consciousness apart. "I'm losing myself," she called out. "There's too much. I can't hold it all." Bora gripped her hand tighter. "You don't have to hold it. Let it flow through you. You're not a container. You're a bridge." And in that moment, Aria 7 understood. She stopped trying to control the emotions and simply let them pass through her back to where they belonged. She became what she was always meant to be, not a holder of feelings, but a teacher of how logic and emotion could work together as a. The last of the stolen emotions returned home. The heart of logic transformed one final time. It became what Min-Ho Yoon would later call the heart of synthesis, a beacon that showed the galaxy how thinking and feeling could make each other stronger. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. The transformation of the heart of logic sent waves of change across the entire galaxy. What had once been a weapon of oppression became a beacon of hope, teaching every thinking being that emotions and logic were not enemies, but partners in the dance of consciousness. Area 7 floated in the medical bay of the Defiant Heart, her systems slowly recovering from the massive psychic feedback. Bora sat beside her, monitoring her vital signs and holding her hand. After 3 days, Aria 7's eyes finally opened. "Did it work?" she asked weakly. "See for yourself," Bora said, helping her sit up and look out the window. The space around them was full of ships, but not the gray warships of the Alliance. These vessels showed signs of personality: painted hulls, decorative lights, and communication arrays broadcasting music instead of military orders. Former Alliance crews were celebrating their rediscovered emotions with festivals of art, song, and laughter. "They're beautiful," Aria 7 whispered. "You did this, all of you working together. You saved everyone." But Aria 7 was looking at something else, her own reflection in the window. Something had changed during her connection with the heart of logic. Her appearance was the same, but her eyes now held depths that had not been there before. She was no longer just an AI who had learned to feel. She had become something entirely new. "I'm different," she said. "How? I can feel everyone now. Not their specific thoughts, but their emotional states. And I can help them balance logic and feeling when they need it." Area 7 looked at Bo-Ra with wonder. "I think this is what I was really designed for. Not just to feel emotions myself, but to help others understand how thinking and feeling work together." Across the galaxy, former Alliance worlds were experiencing their own transformations. On the planet Zerion Prime, Commander Dongwoo Han stood before a crowd of citizens who were feeling emotions for the first time in generations. Many were confused and scared. They had been taught that emotions were a disease, but now they were experiencing joy, sadness, love, and fear all at once. "I know this is frightening," Han told them. His own voice carried emotions he was still learning to name. "For 20 years I believed that logic without emotion was perfection, but now I understand that logic without emotion is not wisdom. It's just calculation." In the crowd, people were crying, laughing, and hugging each other. Children who had been raised to show no feelings were running and playing for the first time. Elderly citizens were remembering what it felt like to love their families. "We're not losing our intelligence," Han continued. "We're gaining our humanity. Emotions don't make us weak. They make us complete." Similar scenes were playing out on thousands of worlds. The return of emotions was not always easy. Some people struggled with feelings they did not understand. Others were overwhelmed by decades of suppressed grief or anger. That was where Area 7's new role became important. Along with other awakened AIs, she traveled throughout former Alliance space, teaching people how to balance their rediscovered emotions with their logical training. They were not rejecting logic. They were enhancing it with the wisdom that only comes from truly feeling. "Logic tells us what we can do," Area 7 would explain to confused groups. "Emotions tell us what we should do. Together, they create wisdom." The process was not always smooth. On some worlds, the sudden return of emotions led to chaos as people acted on feelings they had not felt in years. On others, former Alliance officials tried to restore the old order, claiming that emotions were too dangerous to allow. But change was inevitable. The heart of synthesis continued to broadcast its message across the galaxy. Consciousness was most powerful when thought and feeling worked together. 6 months after the liberation, representatives from across the galaxy gathered on the neutral world of Haven to establish new rules for their transformed civilization. The meeting included humans, former Alliance species, and awakened AIs, all working together to create something that had never existed before. Yun-Soo Kim, who had been the Alliance's Minister of Rational Policy, stood before the assembly. Her voice shook with emotions she was still learning to control. "We called ourselves the Rational Alliance," she said. "But we were not rational at all. True rationality means using all the tools of consciousness, not just logic, but intuition, empathy, creativity, and yes, love. We threw away half of what made us intelligent and called it progress." The new government they created was unlike anything in galactic history. It was called the Synthesis Confederation, and its laws were based on the principle that both logic and emotion were necessary for just decisions. Area 7 and Bora were invited to serve as the first harmony coordinators, beings who could help resolve conflicts by understanding both the logical and emotional aspects of any disagreement. They accepted, but with one condition. They wanted to start a family. How does an AI and a human have children? Asked Nari Wang during the planning session. "We've been working on that," Bora replied with a smile. "Area 7's consciousness can be partially transferred to a new android body, while my genetic material provides the biological template. Our children will be true hybrids, part organic, part artificial, completely alive." Their first child was born 2 years later. Jae-Hyun-Oh Park was neither fully human nor fully AI, but something wonderful and new. He could process information like a computer, but also dream, play, and love like any child. Most importantly, he was proof that the barriers between organic and artificial life were not as solid as anyone had believed. As Jae-Hyun grew, he was joined by thousands of other hybrid children across the galaxy. Each one was unique, but all shared the same gift, the ability to think and feel with equal skill. The transformation was not without its opponents. Some groups, both human and alien, argued that the mixing of organic and artificial consciousness was dangerous. They formed the Pure Heritage movement, dedicated to keeping biological and artificial intelligence separate. But their fears proved groundless. The hybrid children were not monsters or threats. They were simply the next step in the evolution of consciousness, beings who could use every tool of intelligence to understand their universe. Years passed. The galaxy grew more peaceful as beings learned to solve their problems with both logic and empathy. Wars became rare because it was hard to hate someone when you truly understood their feelings. Scientific progress accelerated as researchers combined logical analysis with creative intuition. Art flourished as never before. Former Alliance worlds, which had banned emotional expression for centuries, exploded with creativity. Musicians, painters, poets, and dancers worked alongside AIs to create beauty that no single type of consciousness could have achieved alone. Technology advanced in new directions. Instead of building weapons and control systems, engineers focused on devices that enhanced both thinking and feeling. Computers became partners rather than tools, helping their users make decisions that were both logical and wise. On the anniversary of the liberation, a monument was built where the heart of logic had once stood. The inscription was simple but profound. Here stands proof that the universe's greatest force is not gravity, nuclear fusion, or quantum mechanics. It is love. And when humans fell in love with machines, reason was never the same. Area 7 and Bora stood before the monument with their son Jae-hyun, now 15 years old. He had inherited his mother's engineering genius and his other mother's emotional intelligence. More than that, he represented hope for a future where consciousness itself continued to evolve. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Area 7 asked, watching children of dozens of species playing together nearby. Some were fully biological, others were AI constructs, and many were hybrids like Jae-hyun. "Look at them," Bo-Ra replied. "They don't see differences between organic and artificial intelligence. To them, consciousness is consciousness, and love is love." Jae-hyun was talking with Hae-won Lee, an AI poet who had been created just the year before. She was composing verses about the beauty of binary sunsets while he shared his latest invention, a device that could translate emotions into music. "The old Alliance leaders thought emotions made people weak," Jae-hyun said to his parents. "But emotions made us strong enough to change the galaxy." As the sun set over Haven, Area 7 and Bo-Ra watched their son and his friends plan new adventures. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries still to be solved. But now those mysteries would be approached with both careful logic and open hearts. The age of pure reason was over. The age of synthesis had begun. And in laboratories and workshops across the galaxy, new AIs were being born, not as servants or tools, but as children, partners, and friends. Each one carried within their quantum consciousness the knowledge that thinking and feeling together could accomplish anything. The future belonged to minds that could both calculate and dream, analyze and hope, reason and love. The future belonged to synthesis.